Here we go. What's going on, guys? Welcome to another edition of the Break of the Baits. Thank you. This is our 52nd episode. We're pretty happy about that down here. We are going to be talking about the Amazing Spider-Man versus Spider-Man franchise film series, and of course, along with me we have Ken Phillips, and I've also managed to get MademB to join us on this.
Yay!
So, a very interesting conversation that we're going to have.
And I hope your mic
Those
is
who
staying
don't know,
up too, because you're cutting on me. It's like, hello,
oh man.
hello. If not, well, we'll just do a lot of talking tonight.
I reviewed the Spider-Man movies, which I will put those in the comment section below to check those out. They are pretty good and informative, if not entertaining. But I actually like the Spider-Man series, both of them. I know both have their flaws, but just generally, what do you think about it, Ken?
Well, let's see. How long has Spider-Man been around, folks? How long? 1962. 1962. The Amazing Spider-Man came out from Stan Lee. It's been a long time. And we've had The Amazing Spider-Man, which was like 1977 to 1981 for you old people like me. And then we had Sam Raimi come in there and do Spider-Man, Spider-Man 2, Spider-Man 3 with our friend Tobey Maguire. And then we had Mark Webb directing with Andrew Garfield, the Amazing Spider-Man and Amazing Spider-Man 2. So we had two different directors, two different Spider-Mans, and a lot of weird, confusing things sometimes.
Yep.
Especially that Spider-Man 3 from Sam Raimi. Very confusing. Too many things. But personally, I think I like the Sam Raimi much, much better so far. Like I say, I do like the technological advancements they added in The Amazing Spider-Man. Like when we saw the Rhino and Electro, and then you kind of seen a hint to the Sinister Six in the movie. I was kind of excited about that. But they took the story. We have our classic Spider-Man, college student, gets bit by the radioactive spider. He gets his powers, but in this case, though, his powers are more organic. For example, we know he could always climb walls, and he was super strong and had a spider sense. But his web shooters were actually kind of built in like a regular spider. So he could actually just project spiderweb. And I thought that was a very, very cool ad.
Yeah.
That's to the Spider-Man series, even though the story stayed the same, Harry Osborn and everything that's going on. But I thought that was a very neat touch that they added in the Sam Raimi series of movies, which I thought was very cool.
All right, hey, MademB. So I know you said you hadn't seen thought about just the Sam Raimi Spider-Man series. You said you've seen all three of those, right?
The 1, 2, 3.
Yeah.
I don't know. Okay, Tobey Maguire.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, that was the first one, right? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
He played in the first, second, and he played in all three, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm not prepared for this. I'm sorry.
That's okay. The first one had the Green Goblin as kind of the bad guy.
Yeah.
The second one brought in Dr. Octopus. And then the third one kind of threw a whole bunch of characters in there, including the Sandman, Venom, and
the New Goblin.
Goblin 2. I guess you could say that. James Franco.
I want to ask, okay, we're going to get down to the main questions, because we could talk all day about the Spider-Man series. The main, one of the main questions is, who played two parts? Who played a better Peter Parker, and who played?
I got part one of that question.
Who do you think played a better Peter Parker?
I'm gonna go with the Raimi films at the moment.
I'm thinking.
I think Andrew Garfield had the smarter, alecky tone, but I have not completed the movies from beginning to end. I kind of got a little bored with them. So I didn't complete it all the way through, but as in the comic, he's a smart butt. He likes to talk a lot of crap. And in that, I will give that to Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man. Although I think the character development and build of Tobey Maguire in the Raimi films was more along the character that I was expecting to see a little bit, with a little bit of a change, except for that third movie, which should have never been made. So that's my thoughts on that one. What was your second part of your question?
The second part. Since you haven't seen The Amazing Spider-Man, did you think Tobey Maguire did a good job as Peter Parker? Kind of this nerdy guy who has this secret, like as far as the Peter Parker persona. Do you think he kind of
Actual
landed it
primary
like he's a
character? I think
yeah.
both of them. I have seen enough of the Amazing Spider-Man to give a kind of a good idea. I think the more nerdier one, though, I think we'll actually go with the Sam Raimi, Tobey Maguire version, because he was just so cluttery, just running around like crazy. He didn't know what he was doing. He was so overworked from being Spider-Man, overworked from being school, overworked from everything. Whereas I didn't see that as much with the Andrew Garfield. He was looking more to solve the mystery because they changed the story.
I think in The Amazing Spider-Man he was younger. Like he wasn't out of college
He was. I think he was much younger of a character, but the story is what really kind of. It's great to change the story, and I think that's what I was having a little bit of a difficulty with. Was like, what? We're adding a little bit more to the Oscorp mystery and the development of Oscorp as a not really a good company, but more of a bad, shady company like his dad.
Yeah.
So I mean, it added a little bit more story depth, but he was more obsessed with finding out what happened to his parents than he was becoming Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, I hear what you're saying.
I mean, that's my impression
Okay.
of the movie. I mean, that's kind of what I feel, because I felt more connected to the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man than I felt with the Andrew Garfield Spider-Man in the Amazing series.
I got to give it to him. I liked Andrew Garfield, but I think because I liked his character, but isolated, that doesn't have too many friends. I think I'd get at the Tobey Maguire as a more grounded character of Spider-Man. I think Andrew Garfield did because Peter, but just the Amazing Spider-Man, he's fun. He's a likable guy. Like you would want to hang with him. Whereas in the original Spider-Man, Tobey Maguire, he was kind of like a recluse a little bit.
Exactly, he was
Whereas
off on his own.
Andrew Garfield was like more carefree.
Room service. But I did. I don't know. Man, woo! I had some red beans and rice, and they were kicking my butt right now. They were spicy. Oh, so good. Nothing like good Cajun food. Between the Raimi or Amazing Spider-Man and Spider-Man series, which was your favorite bad guy?
I haven't seen the Amazing Spider-Man.
Well, let's go with the ones 1, 2, and 3 then.
I like which one played the Willem Dafoe?
Green Goblin.
Green Goblin in the first one. Oh, it gave me chills when he came out in the armor the first time you heard him. And that laugh is just so crazy.
Yeah, I kind of like him, even though he's like a big jackass. But
well, he's Harry Osborn, or excuse me, not Harry. Norman Osborn is very much an ass in the comic series. He's obsessed with everything, and his son kind of took up his reign a little bit there for a while.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah,
I love the Green Goblin. I really did. I was like, oh yeah.
yeah. I wanted to go back. We answered the question of who we thought did a better Peter Parker, but who you think played a better Spider-Man?
Ooh.
Tobey Maguire as Spider-Man, but I think Andrew Garfield nailed it on the head better
Why do you think that?
because he was more goofier, like with more of the quips and stuff. Like when he's talking, he's because Spider-Man antagonizes the bad guys.
Absolutely.
He did,
And I
yeah. I
will
think
say
he did a better
does
job.
oh yeah, that's kind of what I liked about the soon to be new guy.
Yeah, he
I
had that
like
energy.
I like because in the comics he always was a smarty butt. I mean, even if you watch the cartoons, Spider-Man's always been a smart ass. He's always ragged all the guys. Oh look, you're trying it again. and in the Amazing Spider-Man, he did carry that. He
He
did
did.
carry
He
that.
did. He did a better job. So I guess we can go ahead and agree that Tobey Maguire was like a better Peter Parker. But as far as Spider-Man, uh, Andrew Garfield takes it. Um, let's talk about the cast. Uh, so this was include not, but as far as the supporting cast, Aunt May, J. Jonah Jameson, Gwen Stacy, Mary Jane Watson, all of those good characters. Do you think they did which one you think had a better roster?
Well, J. Jonah Jameson could not be played any bit better than in the Sam Raimi
Yeah,
Spider-Man.
J.K.
As we
Simmons,
talked
he hit
last
that.
week, Hugh Jackman as Wolverine,
Hmm.
he was perfect for coming out. I mean, he looked exactly what I would expect J. Jonah Jameson to be. I don't think you could beat him in any of the series. He was just too perfect for that role, and
Yeah,
I
that was
liked him the
perfectly
best.
cast.
I mean, you couldn't. I couldn't beat that with a stick. Uh,
We
as
go.
for Aunt May's, like, ooh, you
What do
guys
you
are
think about the
cutting out
Ant Man?
so bad.
Oh, we are.
Ugh, yes, I'm getting a little bit of a and a and what do you? That's good.
Oh, I video, and you know what? I'm gonna go ahead and cancel it. That'll probably be slowing down my processing speed and all of that stuff.
We need to build a monster
Okay, so
powerhouse
that
machine for you guys.
that should speed it back up. That should make everything back. I'm gonna close it too. All right. So you were saying about Aunt May?
Yeah, Aunt May. If we're going for the comic book look, we're going to have to go with the Sam Raimi again. That Aunt May kind of hit it on the money for me. I was trying to think of her name at the moment. But see, every time we've had a Spider-Man movie, Aunt May gets younger.
Like the
Have you
next,
noticed that? Like when we got out of the Spider-Man series from Raimi and we get into Mark Webb, Aunt May gets a little bit younger.
mm-hmm.
And then in our future Homecoming, she's even younger. But of
Yeah,
course, our Spider-Man seems to also, to me, I think even Spider-Man's getting young. I mean, obviously, relatively, you don't want to have a 30-year-old Spider-Man with a 26-year-old Aunt May. So, I mean, I
yeah,
can see why they're doing it. But each iteration we've seen, we've had the old school Aunt May, and then we kind of moved, I guess, into his more earlier teens, not so much high school, more like middle school, early high school. So I'm kind of curious where we're going to fit in with the Homecoming Spider-Man. What time frame or age are we looking at in that particular character?
Aunt May in the new one does seem like she's probably like in her maybe early.
That's Marissa Tomei, if I remember right. Let's go look. See if I get some time references here for that.
I know everybody's going to ask this question: who is better, Mary Jane Watson or
Mary Jane or who?
You said who?
I lost you there. I heard Mary Jane
Uh,
or
Gwen Stacy.
yeah. Well, everybody
I
knows Gwen Stacy dies. That's what kind of starts Spider-Man on some of his stuff.
I got to say that I personally like Emma Stone as Gwen Stacy better than Kirsten Dunst.
I think she was a more necessary to the necessary to the story. Because Mary Jane is much later in the storyline anyway. You know, she's kind of basically the first person he really kind of reveals to and understands what's going on. So
I think it's also the fact that in the Amazing Spider-Man series, Gwen and Peter Parker kind of have a friendship already, whereas in the Sam Raimi series, he likes Mary Jane, but he hasn't talked to her. Like they don't have a relationship like prior to the events of the movie.
Yeah, there's no anything in there, which is very interesting in how they did it. I mean, it was kind of interesting how they made, you know, even though they lived next door each other for this whole time, you know, he's never really, because he's been such a nerd and kind of keeping to himself and his secret wants for her. But, you know, until he gets that confidence booster becoming Spider-Man, he actually says something. But we come into Amazing Spider-Man, we already have something established. We already have a situation going on there. So
now I will say this. When Mary Jane and Peter Parker relationship develops in Spider-Man 2 and in Spider-Man 3, I did like that because their relationship was tested. And in fact, it was tested in the way. Yeah, it was tested in the way that, you know, Gwen Stacy and Spider-Man relationship was tested. Like, how believable do you think their relationship was, MademB, in Spider-Man in the Sam Raimi series?
Basically, I think she just liked him because I don't know. He finally stepped her to her and told her that he liked her, and then you know, I really
like do you think they actually had like chemistry?
No, not really. Not believable chemistry.
So I think after it developed.
Well, the first one, he was so quiet, shy, you know, again, stayed in the shadows until he got that confidence. But I think what she really liked about him eventually was the fact that everybody she had been with, you know, in this case, you know, hanging with Harry Osborn, you know, he flaunted his money, he flaunted everything. He, you know, he was about him, not about her. And then Toby's Spider-Man was like, I'm cool with that. I can just be me. And she liked the fact that he was being himself and not a show off with her. I think that's what kind of made that story sort of work at the beginning, even though it was still, again, they're very separated and not floating together very well, not congealing until we start seeing a second movie where they are now and they congealed and they're now a couple and they can, you know, work as a couple. But I think in the first one, that's what the catch or the magic was. Is she just was tired of just being walked over and being like a trophy, where he did not treat her like that.
Because and this is another thing I realized in the first movie that I noticed a long time. Relationship is like it wasn't believable. Like the part at the end where they kiss, but he walks away. That seemed like something that possibly should have been like a later movie because I never felt like that was like. I never felt like that was like their relationship got to that point.
No, I think he kind of did it basically to, in this case, to just go away, to save her life, because he knew what was going to happen. Being, you know, like he said, says if people know who you are and know who I am, you're in more greater danger because I can't always be there to protect you. And I think that's why he just kind of took off and went on his own. Granted, it's kind of like that, you know, romantic moment in the movie, like, oh, you're sacrificing yourself to save me. You know, I think that's what they were going for, but in reality, I think it took away from the movie per se, because we know, at least reading the comics, she's quite aware, and of course, many, many, many times has she been exposed to God knows what.
Mm-hmm.
That's where Gwen Stacy comes in, though, because if we go way back into the comic series, Gwen Stacy dies at the hand of the Green Goblin, if I remember right.
Yeah. It was at the hand of Green Goblin,
And he knew who he was, and he killed her to prove his point.
Who is
And I think that's why any relationship he ever was in after that, granted.
Madam B got a question. She wanted
Fire
to
away.
ask you.
Who is Gwen Stacy?
Gwen Stacy was Peter's original romantic interest. Typically, you see her as a blonde-haired character in the series. In the movie, let's see here. Yeah, she's where does she run into him at? See how far she goes back in history, because I know it's been a long time. Let's see here. Met together in college and university.
Yeah.
And she also dated Flash Thompson and Harry Osborn, but she ends up really just becoming more towards a Peter Parker and his super smartness as I'm reading through here. And they basically, he dumps Mary Jane and goes right to her and stays with her for a long time. But she ends up getting basically found out and killed, which was pretty sad. But I think that's what carries the Peter Parker away from Mary Jane, trying to protect her. He couldn't save one, and he doesn't want to have to try to save the other because people will know.
I don't. I want to ask you guys, since we we talked on my field, and we can always come back to this, especially with the after the new Spider-Man comes out. But the villains, who you think had the better villains? And Madam B, you tell me which one of the villains from the first series that you like the most.
Well, it's not from it's from which one was the Sandman in?
The third one.
Yeah. Even though I like the Green Goblin, I like the Sandman was kind of cool too.
All right, you got the Sandman and Ken. When it comes to the villains, which series had better? Which one had better villains?
I liked Doc Ock and Green Goblin in the first series.
Mm-hmm.
In the second series, I was very interested that they were bringing the Sinister Six in there. We saw Rhino, we saw Electro, but we had kind of hints to another Green Goblin. We had hints to the Condor. We had several other hints to that coming. So, but they never. The sad thing is they never matured it past that point because they canceled the series.
Yeah.
So, but to be full fledged, I think I was more impressed with Doc Ock in his development as a kind of not really a bad guy born to be bad. It's just circumstances made him that way, and I think that's what I really liked the Doc Ock character.
Yeah,
but
I did too.
If you want just pure bad guy, though, I think the Goblin in this case will definitely take it. As for the coolest one, I think the Sandman, though, was one of the cooler ones because of his ability to take the sand and scale himself and be as he is. So, I mean, I hit both series, although the first two developed more for me, but the Sandman was pretty freaking sweet. And Electro was kind of cool, too. I think he was a little bit different storyline, but, it was kind of interesting to see him develop.
Okay, the way he became the Sandman, well, now that I've been looking at movies with Narik, it was kind of I actually think back to it, and it was kind of he got how did he got what do you call that?
He fell into an experiment and got exposed.
Yeah, and then he turned into sand. I'm okay.
Well, he was in a pit of sand to begin with, and it just basically replicated that throughout his whole body. And he kind of just disappeared until we saw him reform himself later on.
I ain't calling him Sandman no more. I'm calling him Dirt Man or Dirty Man.
So it was like an experiment
Yeah.
Yeah, he
and
walked
he
right
had
into it.
all sand particles.
Which I'll make a point, but I'm not going to get into it. Not yet. Didn't that seem convenient? He just happened to fall into an experiment which just happened to start up. That's one of those.
Hmm.
That's one of those one in infinite chances that something like that will happen. But I just wanted to point that out there. Uh,
Well, they tried to stick so many people in that movie, and
yeah,
I
yeah.
mean, everybody wanted a Venom movie, and that's what they were really aiming for in this movie was to have Venom. But why did
About
they?
that. Yeah, we'll talk about the Venom or where they went wrong with Spider-Man 3 because I do want to get into that with you. But we'll save that for now. Um, as far as the villains, I'm torn. I'm actually torn between the villains for each series. I will admit though that Sam Raimi's villains had more depth to them, especially Green Goblin as well as Doc Ock.
Mhm.
Because I personally like Doc Ock the most, and I think after Doc Ock it'd be Electro because I liked Electro was a cool character to me, but I will not flesh it out with that movie. But as far as them, I'm split. I'm really split.
They had some good characters. I think you got more time in the Raimi series than we got in the second movie. And funny thing though is just like Sandman was a tragic accident per se, so was
Mhm.
Electro.
Yeah,
Completely, similar. I mean, I hate to say similar storyline, but basically fell into an experiment and became the experiment, unbeknownst to them. And all he was trying to do was find a help, and that's where he becomes a again. What happened with Sandman? Sandman was looking for help and ended up getting in the wrong group. Same thing with Electro. Electro got in, got hurt, got converted into Electro, and they throw him into Osborn Corp to help him, and ends up recruiting him to be a bad guy.
which they did do that too fast. He went to hating Spider-Man way too fast.
Yeah, it was like zippity bam. What? Electro's already being like trying to fry people.
What did you think about Venom? Because I personally liked Venom. I thought that was probably the best way they could bring Venom about.
Oh,
Even
it's
though
kind of,
because Venom's is really bulky, like he's a really huge bulky character. But
yeah, he's like
I liked
8 foot
them in the movie.
tall and a couple hundred
Yeah,
pounds, and but the guy they had playing him, who do we have playing him?
Topher Grace, I believe.
Topher Grace, also known from the '70s show. He probably weighs a soaking wet 110 pounds, and I just
Probably.
we had that. We needed somebody bulky. We needed somebody bigger. Although most of the character was as CGI anyway. Um,
I did like it. What did you think about Venom?
I was not as I was happy to see the character finally show, but at the point we're watching it, it's all too many characters. We had too many bad guys and two almost unbelievable setups. We had Green Goblin 2, Venom, Sandman, all just going at it. And Venom was like just on his own anyway. He's pissed off at Peter Parker to begin with. But the origin story could do a little bit better because instead of coming back with what was this? Can't think of his name now. Jay Jonas's son coming back as a symbiont. We've talked about Secret Wars before, and that's actually where the symbiont comes from.
Yeah.
So there is a little discord there, but the way it works and the way he progressed and the way the character comes around is fine. And I would have liked to have seen Venom develop a little bit more, but of course, we're having three bad guys in one movie with one super guy trying to beat them all, and it just becomes overcrowded, and it took away from that impact of Venom actually finally showing his face. I
And like
wish
I
they
said,
would have made a separate movie.
As an evil Spider-Man, like a straight up counterpart to him, I think that's the best way they could have went about it. Because for all intents and purposes, he did come off as an evil version of Spider-Man. I mean, yes, he wasn't bulky, and which I can forgive that because, like I said, they were going for an evil version of Spider-Man.
Well, what I didn't like was the progress of him turning, I hate to use the analogy, turning to the dark side. But, that whole section of that movie could have just been chunked. Him dancing around, acting crazy and all that stuff. That really, really, really ruined that movie for me. Right. As soon as that started happening, I really actually started watching my watch, which is a bad sign when I go to a movie. They could have done that whole progression a little bit differently and not been so corny with it, because it really hurt the movie. And they could have taken that time and developed better. Something added that extra 20 minutes of stupid to more story or better story or better ending, since we were so rushed at the end of the movie. There's just so much they could have done with that 20 minutes that would have made that movie so much better.
Okay. Like I said, when it comes to the villains, I guess we all agree that, Sam Raimi did a better job developing the characters. I did like even though he did not have a big part in the movie. And I know people like the original Rhino, where he's the guy in the suit. The little.
Well, he was crazy. I thought it was cool at the end, though, or, well, technically, I guess at the beginning, and then they kind of spin off into the rest of the story with the Rhino. But I do the characters in the other one were more technologically advanced, more.
Yeah, they were more technology.
Yeah, they weren't technology based, and like I say, you don't know who the mysterious guy is walking around in Oscorp with the jacket and the coat. You have no idea who that is. And the other thing is, as he's walking, the one thing that really just stuck in my mind more than anything was him walking by the Sinister Six stuff. They were all developing it for something. And I wish we would have actually seen some more of that in the movie. More of why, or, instead of leaving us hanging like they did. Of course, that's, bring it back to another movie. But I think we are actually going to see a Sinister Six show with the new guy. There's rumor of that been putting very strongly and very heavily for a while now. One of the Sinister
the
Six
action
show.
scenes.
Action scenes in the
when it comes to both movies, both series, which one do you think had better action sequences? I think both of them did. And one of the most memorable ones for me when it was in the Sam Raimi one, of course, is to the Amazing Spider-Man. I think the first fight he had with Electro in was pretty good too.
I liked. Well, let's see. The one thing, it gives me goosebumps even now, is when you first, at the parade in the very first movie, when the Goblin shows up and you hear that crazy cackling and you see the smoke and him coming up. That's one of my favorite scenes out of that. Mm-hmm. I like it when Peter Parker and Mary Jane are sitting in the coffee shop and you hear and feel the stomping as Doc Ock is walking up. And then he senses the car coming in and he ducks enough to drop her and save her as the car comes flying through. And then you see Doc Ock come cruising around. The Electro fight was pretty cool. Again, in that case, though, we're looking at more technology. That's kind of what was really cool is, you're seeing a lot more updated technology Electro fighting in the electrical fields and everything like that. So, you could see that he could transfer around. So I thought it was pretty cool in that one.
Um, have great choreography when it comes to man. You had one sequence where Spider close quarters. It was a really well done fight. The Electro fight was pretty cool. Um, and as far as the Venom and the Green Goblin from the Amazing Spider-Man, much as they were shooed into the movie, because they both happened so fast.
Yeah, they developed it real quick.
Yeah, but I think the action in all of them are pretty good.
I like the Doc Ock Spider-Man fight. That's one of my favorites. And then in the very end of the movie, when Doc Ock is doing the sun
Mm-hmm.
and getting it going, and then they're fighting with all that stuff going on and everything that's happening, and Doc's still running this thing and fighting him at the same time. I thought it was pretty cool. And then you get an epic scale of how powerful of what Doc Ock was doing and how crazy it becomes. I don't know. I really like that though. I thought it was neat that they made him more of a tragic character as Doc Ock. The loss of his wife, he gets the thing stuck on his back, they corrupt him, and he finally ends up, sacrificing himself to save the rest. A tragic hero, and it's kind of like what kind of sort of happened to Electro, but he didn't sacrifice himself. He just got locked away.
So, MademB, what did you think about the Electro? It was pretty cool.
I mean, I really didn't see much.
I mean, because I think as far as bad guys go with the fight scenes, I think because his was more. I just don't know. I don't know. I think both series have really good choreographed fight sequences.
They do. But I think to me the comic booky style. Well, I don't even say comic because the Electro's battle was pretty wild too. So, I think both have relatively good ones for their style of what they were aiming for, like the style of more to the comic-y, more towards the story. Older Peter Parker in the first series, and I also get a much younger Peter Parker in the second one. Not by much, I'm pretty sure, if they by age, but each had their respective styles, and in their styles, they were both very good. What the heck? Oh. But it was both had their. I mean, you had two different directors, two different styles, two different origin stories. So I mean, trying to compare apples and oranges, it gets to be a little harder to work with it because you're like, well, that one did we go with? We kidnap parents. Okay, Spider-Man's a little different. Although the bad guys were pretty cool on all of the movies, it was pretty sweet.
All right, we got two more categories to go down, and then we'll just throw our final verdict. The first is which series had a better score, and which series had a better story.
Ooh, music score is the first one. I can tell you that right off the bat. Boom.
I'm torn. I'm torn because honestly, I actually downloaded some of the music from the Amazing Spider-Man, and I only downloaded maybe one or I don't know. I'm torn between them.
I think the first music to me is more epic and just really sticks to me. When I hear it, I know exactly what it is. Boom, just like that, and I know it, and it just is right on it. I definitely I wasn't so much the second one. I mean, I could tell what movie it is, but I just I'm definitely going to go with the original series. Much, 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 much better. I love movie soundtracks. Or musical scores, let me rephrase that.
Spider-Man 2, when it orchestra with the trumpets, like that was fantastic. Like I love that one. Even with Electro's dubstep theme, loved it.
Yeah.
Uh
I was trying to remember who did the music.
the
I think it was James
the
Horner who did
yeah.
the first one.
But while we're looking up talking about the score, the Sam Raimi series, but I think overall arcing story wise, I think the Amazing Spider-Man kind of hit it a little bit better despite the poor Amazing Spider-Man. There was this okay, this organization is doing this. There and there's this big conspiracy involving Peter Parker as well as all of these other things. Whereas, you know, in the original one, you don't really get that feeling. The only feeling you might get from that is the whole in all three movies, you know, James Franco character Harry Osborn kind of has his debt, you know, wants to get revenge.
He does, and like I say, the Amazing Spider-Man brings in a little bit different storyline than what we're used to in the first movie. You know, the bit by spider. You know, is he genetically modified? You know, what's the tie-in with Oscorp? What's going on with Oscorp? You know, what was he? You know, was he genetically altered for some purpose, or what's going on?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that did add a lot. It added a new twist. You know, just like the first, you know, Spider-Man, we changed. We had the original origin, but we had a different Spider-Man with organic abilities.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas in the Amazing Spider-Man, you have a different series. You know, they disappeared. What happened to them, we don't know. It's up in the air. You know, he's trying to figure out what happened to his parents, and you add that mystery in there. And you know, like I say, at the end, you know, we get a little tease of the Sinister Six. So, you know, what was his purpose? What was Peter Parker's journey to be in that movie? What was the story? And that does intrigue me. That does bring, you know, the train car down in the area, the subway car. You know, what was going on? What was happening?
Yeah.
And that does draw me to the storyline. You know, the first one was just like, "Hi, I'm here. I'm Spider-Man, and I'm learning myself." The second one is, I'm not sure who I am or what's going on, and there's a whole bigger story than me. What is it?
I think the first one was more. It felt more episodic, and then the second series is kind of like in the cartoon series where you had the secret, this mysterious organization of main antagonist, and every episode they send out a new bad guy or they had some kind of scheme, and as the episodes are progressing, the superhero and all of that stuff. And I think the Amazing Spider-Man.
Work to solve the mystery. What's going on? You know.
So I think the Amazing Spider-Man a bit better. But so what are your final thoughts on this? What is one do you think? Can we say one is indefinitely better than the other, or qualities in the other, or you know what I mean?
I think my personal choice is I like the Sam Raimi's a lot better. I attached myself a little bit better to them. I like the music a lot better. I like the villains a lot better. I like the mystery of the Amazing Spider-Man. That what's going on? What's that question? What's that mystery? Which is drawing me in, you know, a little bit different. I don't know if I felt the spider vibe. You know, I hate to say that word, but the spider vibe off of Garfield's character. I was kind of like mixed feelings comparing Toby and him and the new guy. And, you know, I just didn't feel that attachment of the character right off the bat. But I do like they were teasing the Sinister Six. I do like the technological advancements that they had. I like the mystery. It was a nice twist about something about Parker's parents going differently. So I was with that, definitely with that.
Yeah.
But if I really had to sit down, and I'm like, just want to burn 2 hours of my life and go watch something that I like, I will probably put on the original series before I put on the second series.
Okay,
Personally,
I can see it. And like I said, I'm still pretty much torn because I do feel like for whatever one series, if they weren't neck and soundtrack, they were neck and neck for me. The action, they were neck and neck for me. Like, okay, even though like the villain characters, like as far as the characters, the Sam Raimi series took it. But as far as the Sam Raimi series took it for me, as far as like the persona, the super villain, superhero persona, I think the Amazing Spider-Man series took that for me. As far
I
but
lost you for that whole last 60 seconds.
I was just
all that
basically
epic,
saying,
all that
yeah.
epic talking, and it's like, what?
All it was I'm kind of torn. It's just neck and neck for me.
Yeah, I won't mind giving something a new shot. As we talked many times, we can go with the same storyline and rehash it, or we can take the storyline and tweak it. And that's what
Mhm.
Amazing Spider-Man did, was they took the original story and tweaked it, which made it interesting. Me, I just couldn't connect with Garfield right off the bat. I just, I may sit down one weekend and rewatch both of them again and just see if I can absorb it. And I might have a different opinion, but it just didn't. He just as a Spider-Man just didn't grab me. Now, granted, I don't like all three Sam Raimi movies either. I really didn't care for the third one very much at all, except for a few moments of Venom or Sandman. They just kind of ruined it when they started doing the dark-sided Peter Parker. I kind of lost it there, but I'm very
Well,
curious. I am very interested in seeing the Homecoming Spider-Man.
me too.
With his arrival in Civil War, I felt very connected to the character already, even in the brief moments of the movie. I feel he's got the same, charisma as Garfield's character, like being the smart ass. He's much younger in this case. So I'm very interested to see when Homecoming comes out, how well that's going to go. And that's what, July 7th of this year that comes out. So we could definitely be talking back, bringing this whole topic back
Yeah,
up
we're gonna
again
bring it back up.
in
We're definitely gonna
July.
bring it back up.
Because I would
Um,
really, I'm very eager to see how Homecoming pulls off. I'm trying to think of what's the new kid's name?
Tom
Tom
Holland.
Holland. So I'll see. Oh, he's
We'll see.
15.
Yeah.
He's 15 in this one, so he is way younger. 4 or 5 years younger character in this one. So
Yeah.
this will be really cool. I think because he's so young, he's going to be cocky, which is great, and this is what I'm expecting to see out of Spider-Man. So I am very interested. And of course, we have the Vulture coming in
Yeah.
with
She
Michael
looked epic.
And I was
She
like,
looked epic.
oh, the Vulture. And I'm glad they bring in all these characters, that, like I say, granted, everybody wants to see the Sinister Six. I would like to see Mysterio in there. I would like to see Carnage come in there. I would like to see Craven the Hunter come in.
I'm
Um,
interested in seeing about Craven too.
um,
We're gonna come back. We're gonna come back to this, and we're gonna talk about all the villains we want to see in the Spider-Man movies, and we want. I want us to actually sit down and have a discussion about who they should cast.
oh, see, always the casting. It's so hard because you have some of these characters. I mean, Hugh Jackman. Who would have thought Hugh Jackman would walk in and look like Wolverine? Come on. It would have been like, okay, yeah, whatever. And then you see him, you're like, holy crap. He walked right off
Yep.
the comic book character. Patrick Stewart. It would be Professor X. I mean, boom, Professor X. It's so hard to uncast these people from the role because they fit so perfectly into it. So,
Yeah,
but we can do that.
yeah.
We can
There's a
bang our
lot. There's
brains.
a lot. Yeah.
It would be interesting to see. I mean, there's so many stars out there, and the thing is, I like to see them bring in the no-namers. Who's Tom
Yeah,
Holland?
I
We've
believe
never
it.
heard of Tom Holland. Let's bring him in. Where'd this guy come from? Andrew Garfield, where'd he come from? Never, they're just nobodies basically, or in been very small roles, and then they get cast in such a big role to more unknowns or not so known actors and actresses into these roles because, who knows? These guys might, I'm pretty happy with Holland right now, so we'll see what happens in July.
Go ahead, let Ken go ahead and do that. Go ahead, Ken. Go ahead and walk us out of it.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, if you like what you've heard tonight, like, share, and subscribe us, Narik Chase channel. Every week we're here, usually on Thursdays, about 7 o'clock or 8 o'clock. 2 shows have been the regular standard. And if you like it, comment it. If you like what you hear, say what you like. If you don't, be positive, be constructive, not destructive, people. And come back and join us. Get that subscribe button. Like and subscribe, Narik, myself. MademB, come on back and join us. And hell, even one weekend or 1 week show, we might even bring you on board. So you never know. And contact Narik, he'll let me know, and we'll set you up. So come back on our next hour. We'll be back. We're going to come back with Bill Paxton, and many actor who tragically passed away. So come back, tune in for the next hour here on Narik Chase's channel.
All right then, guys. Y'all heard the man.
Do it to it.